seara! Numele meu este Alin Ivan. Bine ați venit la ediția a doua Opera Talk Show. Good evening. My name is Alin Ivan. Welcome to the second edition of Opera Talk Show. Our guest for this evening is Mr. Lorca Masine, a well-known choreographer that is invited to the National Romanian Opera of Cluj-Napoca to make the production of the show Zorba. The co-producer of this show are Entity Data, Banca Transilvania and Vitrina Advertising, and we thank them very much. Mr. Masine, welcome to Cluj.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. If I may ask you about ballet, you are a well-known choreographer. You have made Zorba more than 5,000 times on different stages in the world. I'd like to start by asking you, what's the place of the art in our lives? And among this constellation of art, what is the place of ballet, the specific place of ballet?
Well, art in general, in all sectors, if you unite them, it's about a dream. We're all humans, we are all dreamers, and I would say that art establishes some boundaries in the dreams. That's for the general forms of all the arts. If we have to specify for ballet or dance, everybody has a different, every choreographer has a different feeling about that, a different understanding. I worked with 4 different choreographers, which were the greatest of the last century, and I was amazed to catch every kind of point of view from each one of them. So I can confirm that my feeling towards art is maybe a little bit different. First of all, because I had a very, I would say, condensed education, which was involving me in philosophy from a very young age, a lot of literature, and the influence of literature, of the minds, the great minds, has driven me to create ballets which are the result of a story which is constructed by an author. And that's what I do. I translate, like Kazantzakis for Zorba, for instance. Mm-hmm. It's a masterpiece of a book. And I'm not talking about the film, which is a good film, but my entire creation of Zorba is based on strictly on the book, which I read when I was 14 years old. And if you understand that I did Zorba when I was 46, it gave me some time to think about it, and I wasn't ready probably, but it never left me. So just to come back to your question, I don't want to evade, and I will explain what I feel for ballet and what ballet represents in life. For me, it's like an essential meaning, like breathing. Ballet is a word kind of vague, but I'm talking about movement, dance. That's the way I live. Life itself is movement. This has been confirmed by a great philosopher also, Nietzsche. So therefore, being movement in life, it drives you into confirming life itself. And dance is the extension of life. An extension of movement and an intensification of movement. So you can't get higher in the expression of life than through dance. Because dance involves the sculpture, the sense of sculpture, the sense of space. It absorbs movement from music, it also is a creative architectural architectural meaning, geometrical, mathematical. Dance is everything, because we are all movement. Everything you see, and you look, even a flower is movement. It's like, static, but if you give it time and you watch it, it's going to move.
It's going to grow.
Even what is static. So that's my view on dance. It's very, very important. Like for me, it's like a mission. I can only, although I play music as well, I love music, I've studied music, and I've played as an actor. I started as an actor, as a matter of fact, my career, yeah. And I had to drop it because I had to decide where to go. I studied for orchestra conducting as well. So all this together, when I was 18, I was like an encyclopedia. I had too much in my head, too much of everything. So finally, after knowing all this, I decided to become an idiot again. You see, to ignore everything.
That's
and
a very
to
good choice.
be like, instead of being Apollonian, become Dionysic again, you see, and live by instinct. This drives me to Zorba, which I had to mature in years. So when I was finally 46 years old and I presented the idea to various theaters in the world, everybody said, "Oh, that's just an old film. Nobody wants to hear that anymore." I fight 2 years knocking on doors to try to convince the structure, a theater, to produce it. And I was finally, destiny drove me to the Arena of Verona, where I had produced Thomas Mann's Mario and the Magician.
Mario and the Zauberer.
Yeah,
That's one of them.
so there again, from literature to theater. And it was a very, very big success. And I said, well, I will modestly go to the director and I will propose my crazy idea of Zorba. I was very lucky because the director, when I said, look, I want to make a 2-act ballet with the idea of Zorba, with a chorus and orchestra in a symphonic form. The guy looked at me, he was a musician, by the way, artistic director, and he said, "That's fantastic. It's a great idea. Let's do it." So I was like, after knocking on doors after years and saying,
to see that
"Yes, come back next
really
time,
open.
very interesting, but, I suddenly had this revelation, so I flew immediately to see Mikis Theodorakis, who I've known since I was a kid. He gave me his first guitar lesson when I was 14 years old. And then during our simultaneous lives, we united in 68 and 70 to do the tour of France of how you say, the houses of culture, and there was the students' revolution.
In 68.
Yeah, from 68 to 70 to 72, various places in France.
I think that there were nice times.
That was extraordinary because he had his popular orchestra, Maria Farandui, his best singers, the best bouzouki players, best piano. It was like, a family. And we had we participated together in this revolution through theater, through art, through dance, through music. So it was a great moment in my life. And then we lost each other because, everybody goes his way. And so when I flew to him, he looked at me and said, "Zorba, are you crazy? You're provoking me. And I already did this." I said, wait a minute, but I want you to write a symphonic partitura with choral and for a big orchestra. And okay, he said yes, all right. I said, "Do you agree to that?" He said, "Okay, but you have to do everything. You have to tell me what you want me to write." So I started. Excuse me if I'm going a bit away from your question.
Please.
But it does belong to the.
We do not stick really to questions.
Yeah, well.
We stick to what's interesting to.
Yeah.
To
so
Zorba,
finally, after he asked me to find the way to do this, I started writing a scenario, a libretto.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wrote 10 of them or 12 of them, and every time I had to rip them down because it wasn't right, to transpose this literature and this philosophy on stage. It's very, very difficult. You have to go to the essential because movement is not prose, and you have to transform it, metamorphose it. Oh, finally I came up with something in 23 scenes. And I also worked on all the musics of his 1960s,
Mm-hmm.
The music that he had even forgotten about. So I dug in, hundreds of scores with a pianist friend of mine, and we started looking for themes. And I picked out the best melodies, what I thought, from the year 60, 62 when he was in prison and he was, writing all this. And I came to him with a mosaic. I said, this is a piece of that, a piece of that, a piece of that, and this is the scene one by one. This is what's happening, etc. Very simply, not going crazy, He looked at that and he said, all right, but what's going to happen now? I said, well, okay, as long as you agree to do that. So I flew back to Arena Verona. I said, okay, Theodorakis, spoke to Theodorakis. He agrees on that, and he wants this amount of money. We don't have it, never mind. Never mind. So I flew back to Verona. From Verona, they said okay, but on a very reduced amount. I said to Simikis, I'm giving Arena Verona this amount of money. We're flying after tomorrow to Verona. You agree? So we flew to Verona, both of us, and we went to a restaurant and we had a lot of drinks. For
that money that
to
we
celebrate already, before we met with the artistic director. And I remember always we went to visit the Arena Verona. It was just two of us. It was in winter. It was very cold weather. He walks into into the arena, and he says this fantastic phrase to me. He says, you know what? This is too small for Zorba.
Really?
And I just collapsed in laughing because it was such a, of course, the extended idea of Kazantzakis and the whole philosophy around Zorba is so immense that it made the arena look very small.
Right? And that was I was wanting to ask you, why do you find Zorba so attractive? What has driven you for Zorba?
Well, I was deeply involved since a young age, as I said, with the classics of Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And Dionysos was my god, in a way, the god of celebration. And Zorba is the modern translation of Dionysos. So in Kim is a champion of life. The man who says yes to life, no matter what drama comes around. So I'm not saying I'm Zorba, but I'm very close to that, mm-hmm. And it's my way of living, and I always try to say yes to life, no matter what happens. And this was like a sort of it was not Lorca Massine doing the ballet. It was Lorca with Mikis Theodorakis, which is his work which I admire immensely and which moves me very much. It's all about emotion. It has nothing to do with academic structure, although there is academic structure in it. But there you go again, from Apollonian you go to the Dionysiac. And so I was immersed in Dionysos. Kazantzakis was crazily immersed in Dionysos in his book because he was transfused from Nietzsche, who himself was a transfusion from the Greek classics. So there was no way around of not doing it. It was like a must. I had to do this piece, and I was mature for that. It was the right moment, the right time, the right collaborators. And Mikis and I, we sat in Paris, and he wrote the score in 6 months. Of course, it was on the piano and all this, and we played and cut and changed and so forth. And then when I came with the partitura orchestrale, like this, and I presented it to the Arena Verona, artistic director, after looking at it, he said to me, "Well, you didn't tell me this was an opera."
He's in it as a...
I said, "How am I going to do this? It's impossible." Our chorus is all engaged, they're in a Verona, they have Carmen, they have Aida, and the season was involved completely.
Mm-hmm.
I say, you have to do it, look. Without this, it's nothing. We need the chorus because it's the voice of the people. Finally I convinced him. It was a bit of a war and everything, but we didn't cut anything out of it, and like yes, 40% of the score is sung.
Mm-hmm.
That's also something which is very, very near to me because I'm from my grandparents were both singers at the Bolshoi Theater.
In Russia?
Yes, my grandmother was a great mother. She was a soprano singer, and my grandfather was a flautist.
Ah. How do you find the music from Zorba?
I find it, it's overwhelming because it does, it goes straight to the hearts of people, without going through the mind.
With which composer would you compare it?
No one.
No one.
No, it's unique in its genre and in its structure as well. It resembles nothing. It's extremely simple. It's not minimalistic, but not very far from it. I would say it's a fusion of many genres, different genres, but with a very strong impact in the choice of dynamics. Melody-wise, he's an extraordinary melodist. In fact, all these melodies that I've picked out and which he has orchestrated after are different one from another, and they're all of them are little masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
So the music of Theodorakis, I remember in 68, 69, during the revolution it was a very strong moment because we said no to authorities, we said no to the bourgeoisie and all this, and all the people of the university were like, it was a real revolution in the venues we had.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we were talking about. It's a taboo on academics, taboo on the Renaissance, taboo on everything.
And the music is reflecting that.
It does.
That
It's a revolutionary music, but at the same time very lyrical. You see, there are two ways to fight to make a revolution. One is the bomb, and the other one are soft words and clever words. So this is what exactly happened with the music of Theodorakis, and not only in Zorba, in many other things.
You as a choreographer, how do you work with this music? I mean, your ballet, your work is within the music. You see the music as a fluid where you work inside.
Yes.
Or is it just something that is coming with the dance?
No, I have quite an analytic approach to music because having studied music and composition, I tend to penetrate completely the score and to read all the voices, of the various instruments when they come in and so forth. So I would say I adopt the sculptural structure of music, you see, and I respect it and I use it in my choreography. In fact, Zorba is a choreography for masses. No ballet in the world has the amount of choreography for the mass, the corps de ballet. The corps de ballet is a protagonista in Zorba, not decorative or accompagnement, like in the action ballets, like in various Swan Lakes, Castle Rosette, and all this, where it's sort of accompagnement. Here it's a principal actor.
Everybody.
Just as much as Zorba, just as much as is the force of the people. Or they say yes or they say no to what the drama. And by the way, this comes from the ancient Greek theater, which was created for this, for catharsis. In order to make it cathartic, you have to correspond, with the public. It's not the elite public comes, pays the ticket, and just has to shut up and take whatever you propose. Here is a direct communication, and therefore, using the music, of course, it builds up my emotion. I'm a very emotional person, as a nature, but I understand emotion has to be condensed and has to be controlled. So this control, which is in the music and in the philosophy, I use it as well in the structure of the choreography, in order to avoid dispersion, you see, or to lose yourself, to become over enthusiastic and all this, you see.
How do you? I was thinking to ask you how do you use the movement of the human body? I mean, you have this specific artistic mean of expression, the human body, the movements of the human body. You don't use colors, you don't use music in the choreography. And nevertheless, you create sadness, you create joy. And how do you know which are the movements that are creating joy or sadness? What do you need to know? Do you need to know psychology or biology, anatomy, to know how the body is going to move?
Well, first of all, the human body is the most extraordinary orchestra itself. Starts from the finger, the eyes, the inclination, the expression, the athletic possibilities. As Einstein would say, they are the dances are the athletes of God.
Did he?
He said this, yes.
Oh, very nice.
So, and this is true because we have this extraordinary power and richness in our human being. We can do absolutely anything, express anything, whether we stop, even if we stop, we look, we lift a shoulder, we are creating a momentum, So the capacity of a human body is
limitless.
Limitless, absolutely limitless. But there again, a lot of choreographers use, what they call dynamics of energy. I do not. Everything is composed.
Dynamics of energy.
Yeah, dynamics of energy, which means that emotion is translated directly into the muscle and
goes to the public.
I'm in between a system. The emotion, I know what the body can do, and I stop and I analyze what the movement can express in 360 degrees. That's the way I work. I don't work in 180, which most choreographers do.
Towards the public?
Yeah, no. My choreography is all around and zenithal. You see, I see my choreography from the top. You maybe noticed in Zorba there are a lot of movements of.
So I can sit in the back of the stage and I will understand everything. Should I?
You could, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can see it from the top. If you're in the last gallery up there, the last balcony, you probably will see more of the designs. But there again, how do I choose emotion? I control it.
Mm-hmm.
You say that it's like the best way to predict the future is to construct it. You know, so I build up something which will become the future after. But it's not just, I feel great today because I fell in love with some woman in the street and, we had a great affair, so I'm happy, we made love and everything, so I come there and I do this for half an hour and then what? And then finally, it might be fantastic, but there it's still composition, so you have to, all these elements, and you're dealing with, it's unimaginable the amount of sectors we have to deal with. Is geometry, it is sculpture, it is sound, it is silence. It is all about control. All these beautiful elements and everything, you have to control them.
And you know which will be the reactions of the public, do you? To the movement.
No, my main thing is to be extremely clear in what I have to say. I deal with transparency. That's my main concern in what I do, because many things in theater are done hermetically, mm-hmm. and I'm completely against that. The ego trip has to be very transparent, because it's always an ego trip. It's me doing it, so I have to reflect on what I'm doing.
It's you on the stage, actually.
Yes, all right. But the main goal is that I have to, what I'm saying now, like for instance, conversation, if I make an interview and I'm doing blah-blahing and
mm-hmm.
I'm saying something that nobody can understand, who has to read a book to understand it, then it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I have to get through to the people, to the public, and that's what about Greek theater is about. We're back again to the roots. Yeah. It's communication.
You see this one like a mirror, so the people are looking at the mirror themselves on the stage somehow like this.
Yes, you see, but this particular story, in this situation, we have 5 dramas in one piece.
How long is lasting the show?
Not so long. It's 2 acts, but it's quite concise and synthetic and how you say, it's not narrative. It's all the time, telling something. There's no empty moment. What was the question? I got lost a second.
If the public is seeing itself as in the mirror on the stage.
So I was saying, yes, it deals with 5 dramas, and 5 different characters.
Your ideas of transparency.
Yes, the public recognizes himself in all the characters there. Zorba is like everybody has a heart which is banging a little bit in Zorba, is ticking like Zorba, but nobody can. It's in sordina, like you play sordina. Everyone wants to have it out, and Zorba is the guy who shows you how to do it. So obviously, you will look at him and you'll feel you'll be drawn by his being, to not to imitate it, but it invite you to say yes to life, no matter what. Then you have the old soubrette who dreams about her past lovers, and she's in love with the past, but she thinks it's the present. Then you have Marina, which is a segregated widow, and in which is the tribe wants to get her, she doesn't want to. Then you have John, which comes from the west, who's a little bit.
He's the hard worker.
No, yeah, he's light, but he read some philosophy, but he's all Apollonian, and
after the rules,
Zarathustra, and all this, and then Zorba is absolutely the opposite. He's an open man, and then you have the guy of the tribe, Manolios, who's the chief of the gang, let's say, in that, mm-hmm. who's in love with the woman. You know, all these stories are there, and everybody can recognize himself in one part of his life and in somebody of those characters. Because everybody's been jealous sometime in his life. Everybody wants to, to revenge. Everybody is crying about the past and dreaming it was there still, and it's not there anymore. Everybody wants to be a champion of life. Nobody can really succeed in it. Everybody wants to discover a new world. That's John. So the public recognizes himself in those characters. And my mission is to present him in such a way, in the form of art, with music and dance, and, in order to enhance this message of each one of them to the public.
Which I would like to ask you to go a little back to the general dance, to the general ballet. Which is the difference? I understand from what you have said that this is a modern dance, a modern ballet. Am I right?
You see, modern.
That was my question. Which is the difference between classical and modern?
No, for me there is only dance.
Where does it stops? Yeah.
Then I can explain you another thing after that. But first of all, I'd like to establish that in my world, after I've studied all forms of dance from a very young age, which doesn't happen anymore nowadays. We have character dance, oriental dance, Spanish flamenco dance, classical ballet, neoclassical, modern. All this we had, you see, as a school.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me. I'm lucky, because I was born at the change of the century. But today. What exactly is your question? So I really want to understand.
If you go to the Swan Lake, for instance, you have mentioned it.
Well,
it's some sort of dancing, of movements. The body is held in such a posture that you understand it's a classic dance.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're free from all that. We use classical also. I use classical. I use modern. I use character, ethnic dance as well. It's quite a lot of it, and I mix it because this work demands it. But I've done other pieces neoclassical. I'm doing Stravinsky now in Rome, and last year did another Stravinsky, and this is a different story. But the basics, I was raised, and like most of the dancers, on classical ballet.
Mm-hmm.
What is classical ballet? It's pre-romantic period, let's say, of the classical ballet is Renaissance. Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance is straight lines. It's clarity.
Yep.
It's academy. It's how you say, very, very readable forms of aesthetics. Then in the 20th century, things has changed around. There were like people like Béjart and in America, an incredible movement in the expressionists in Germany. All this was moved around and changed, but it all started with Cubism at the beginning of the century, where the l'Esprit Nouveau, the Guillaume Apollinaire, in the Cocteau crowd, Diaghilev and all this, where they did parade, where they had managers dancing, sandwich men with enormous structures. And then in Russia they had Malevich. And all this, this was the great revolution, let's say, of ballet. So
there is not line of border between the classic and
not for me. No. Well, if you do classic,
it's a transition.
Well, in my style, yes, but in the ways I work, yes. But we all, most choreographers, and we all come from the same roots, which is academic ballet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like alphabet.
This is the base for everybody.
Swan Lake is the poetry of alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and what we do in this modern world, we go a little bit further than that. More or less, some choreographers say 30% of classical and 70% of distortion, etc. I use like Zorba, for instance, 60% is classical ballet, pure.
But
Pure
also
steps.
ethnics and
Pure steps with a little bit of evolution, but you need a very, very strong classical technique to be able to do Zorba.
mhm.
Although you have ethnic movements.
And yeah, you have also you have told me that Mikis Theodorakis is coming from Crete,
Yes,
and his music has a lot of influences.
it does. It's ritual.
Yes, and also the dance, I believe, has all kind of influences.
Yes, rhythmically, yes, he uses Cretan rhythms, which are unequal. You have this in Romania as well, in your folk. All the Balkans down and going down to Crete, until Crete, irregular modes, 11/8s, 9/11s, 6/9. You see, it's very interesting. As a matter of fact, Stravinsky is the champion of changing measures.
Also in his music, there are these changes of measures,
Yes.
because he has to switch
Yeah, it's
from
not.
from western to eastern,
Yes, exactly.
from north to south.
Yeah, exactly. You will all along you'll see that it sort of comes out of ethnic and goes back into neoclassical, then goes back to character, then to ethnic, to modern. Even there are some jazzy things in it.
But nevertheless, you use the classical orchestra of of our opera.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Or what Stravinsky did. He's using classical instruments, and very good ones actually, because it's very difficult. But the great revolution of music is Stravinsky,
Mhm.
the main one, and it was like the turning of the page.
So practically, it is not an approach of Zorba. You have read the book, you have liked it very much, but it wasn't some sort of a score that you have read it and said, okay, it fits very good from
No.
for the ballet. You are one of the creators of Zorba, actually.
Yeah, well, of this form, yes. Of this performance, yes. I did absolutely practically everything besides writing the music, of course.
Mhm.
Because I had to, as I explained before, assemble everything and present it to the Iraqis, and he developed from there.
Mhm.
Yes, it's a thing that I am very much inspired about, and it drove me to. You see, I believe that in life, the authors, any kind of author, whether he's a musician or a choreographer or a writer, they have a very special moment in your life which never comes back. You can't repeat it, like Beethoven, for instance, in the Ninth Symphony, although we know all the other symphonies and even which are probably more famous, but the Hymn to Joy, which is inspired from the Schiller's poetry, is the greatest moment of his life, and he was practically deaf at that time.
He couldn't hear his own.
Yes,
his own
and I think that the Iraqis,
conducting.
this is I just cite a funny quote of the Iraqis actually. He said to me the other day when I met him, we were talking about Beethoven, I don't know why. He said, you know what? I'm more clever than Beethoven. I said, okay. He's joking, I said, why? Because I made the best music of my life with 2 notes. And it took 4 notes for Beethoven. Ta 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 ta, and he was just ta-da. So there was a funny quote.
Yeah, and also this mi mi fa sol sol fa mi re. That's there are already 5 or 6.
Yeah, more.
He tried a little bit. For the premiere on the 26th of May, is everything ready? How have you worked until now with the crew of Romanian National Opera in Cluj-Napoca?
All right. I can't answer you this question because it is not a question which I would answer in any case, in anywhere in the world.
In any of the 5,000 times
No,
you have
no,
made
no.
Zorba?
I'll tell you something. For me, to be in Cluj in the theater, or to be in La Scala di Milano or the Metropolitan Opera in New York has absolutely no difference.
You were very glad to hear this one.
No,
yes.
no,
and very proud
It's not just a fantasy.
of this association.
Because when I'm in a theater, I lose absolutely notion of the location in the world, the geography, the ethnicity of the country. You know, it's like theater is like an incredible family all around the world, and it has no nation. It's a mixed nation. We're all a family where we belong to each other, and we hate each other, we love each other, we fight. But I absolutely forget that I'm in Cluj when I'm in Cluj. The same thing happens to me in New York. Maybe I'm better in Cluj than in New York because I belong to this side of the world, not to the America.
You have the same déjà vu image in all the theaters, the same déjà vu in all the theaters. The things are happening the same.
Yeah, in different ways, but they happen the same. So every theater has difficulty in some way, you see, because it's all about levels. Okay, you have very strong technical coordination levels, like in Germany, for instance. 3 years ago, I said something in the Staatsoper there. It was like a Mercedes machine working. Before I even thought about something was there.
The German style.
But wait a minute. When something goes wrong in this system, everything collapses. It's like an Omega watch. When you have a little screw there, the watch stops. So you don't need an Omega watch.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, this can happen in the best situations and in the most difficult ones. I've worked in very difficult theaters as well, like in Italy, you know, it's like Mediterranean mentality, domani, then you have a strike, then you have this, and you have that, and you go crazy, and so there's no difference, you see, and what I can say is that the people of the Corps de Ballet are extremely cooperative here. The Romanian people, I have a very good contact, probably because I don't know, I have this part of the world is kind of my world, you know.
The Eastern Europe.
Yes, and I'm Russian myself, so we have something in common, and we just think differently than Anglo-Saxons.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect to come in a Mediterranean theater or Central European theater and find everything like Omega watch, you're crazy, because it never happens.
This reminds me the word of Poincaré. Ici, dans les Balkans, tout est pris à la légère.
Exactly. C'est comme ça, oui.
Okay, so thank you very much. You know, I would like to ask every person that is coming into our theater, why are they coming in the theater? And because I can't do this, because I can't spend 1 hour with everybody asking them why are they coming to the theater, we're making this series of opera talk shows when I'm asking the other person from the other side, why are they doing the theater? Thank you very much for this interview. It was a joy, at least for me, it was a joy.
It was a pleasure.
And I would like to invite everybody on the 26th of May, on Friday, to Zorba by Mikis Theodorakis.
To celebrate life.
To celebrate life by the choreography of Mr. Lorca Massine. The co-producer of this show, Entity Data, Banca Transilvania Vitrina Advertising, along with the long life sponsors, RMB, Mercedes-Benz and Integrated Consulting Group. Vă așteptăm vineri pe 26 mai la Zorba, Mikis Theodorakis, coreografia Lorca Massine, să celebrăm viața Coproducătorii acestui spectacol sunt Entity Data, Banca Transilvania și Vitrina Advertising, alături de sponsorii de o viață ai operei LMB Interauto și Integrated Consulting Group. Vă mulțumim frumos!